There are two events that need to take place during the 11th episode of Yellowstone's 5th season, which is titled 353. First, there are at least two unexpected turns and twists that you need to be aware of. The title of the program that aired on Sunday is revealing. Do not anticipate another episode involving cowboys. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode No. 11 will be broadcast on the Paramount Network on Sunday, November 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Yellowstone made his return with EP 9 earlier this month on November 10th. There are spoilers for the episode 9 and the EP 11. This particular video contains 10 of them. It has been decided that Kevin Costner, who plays John Dutton, would not be appearing in the second part of Season 5. If you remember from the previous week, Beth Dutton had just faced Jaime Dutton, who was so uncomfortable that he couldn't even look her in the eye. She then proceeded to slap Sarah Atwood as she was leaving the building after she had slapped him 3 times prior to leaving. After that, Jaime had a meeting with Sarah and Ellis, the shady attorney representing market equities, and he gave them his word that he would put their interests first. The future holds even more slaps in store. The 10th episode starts off with an exciting scene in which Teeter is awake but unable to move since a rattlesnake had slithered onto her chest while she was sleeping. Rip takes care of business, and in the end, it appears that this incident is not significant other than contributing to Teeter's deteriorating health in a more gradual manner. Hold a close watch on her. After Beth Dutton's meeting, she shares the details of what transpired with her brother Kayce. Kayce then contacts an old buddy of his who served in the Navy SEALs named Cade McPherson, played by actor Jake McLaughlin, to assist him in determining who was the one who actually pulled the trigger to kill John Dutton. The first thing that we ought to learn on Sunday is the answer to that question. A conflict between the agency and the Duttons is certain to lead to a nasty situation, and if the past is any indication, the outcome of this conflict will not be favorable for the agency. Be sure to watch the masked men who were sent to assassinate Beth by the Beck brothers during the 2nd season, as well as everyone who was sent to kill the family at the conclusion of the 3rd season at Garrett Randall's request. During the 10th episode, we learn 2 additional subtle but significant things. First, that neither Beth nor Kayce actually want this ranch, and second, that Tate, Kayce's son and the eventual heir, is on the fence about whether or not he wants it. Can you imagine what would happen if this group of Duttons decided to leave the cattle industry despite the impending battle that is hanging over them? Preview of the 11th episode of Yellowstone Season 5. This brings us to the second event that ought to take place between now and the end of the week. Chief Rainwater will make his comeback after being absent for 1 episode. At the end of the season, we anticipate that Tate will be in a position to acquire the land as a result of his promise to assist and the fact that he is half native. Everything that Jaime and Sarah have been working toward is going to fall apart as a result of this. These are the twists and turns that are coming. Take into consideration 2 different ways going forward for Yellowstone. The first scenario is exactly what it appears to be, with Sarah and Jaime and Beth and Kayce along with Rip heading in the same direction. That is uncluttered and uncomplicated, and it ought to be pleasurable. On the other hand, has Yellowstone ever been a clean and simple place to visit? This program hasn't truly included any instances of double-crossing, although Jaime's motives have always been unclear. Good is always good, and bad is always evil. This show hasn't featured any double-crossing. In a manner that could be considered a shift, he transfers his weight behind the highest emotional bidder. It's possible that he lost his cool when he found out that Sarah Atwood had killed his father without his consent. For more information, check out our idea on the plot hole in episode 9 and is currently attempting to establish market equities as a business. The meeting that he had with me was marked by an extraordinary level of composure and calmness, wasn't it? Is it possible that you are too calm? Additionally, the teaser for Yellowstone Season 5 Part 2 has showed us that his connection with Sarah will soon become strained, and that state authorities will soon determine that Governor Dutton's death was a murder rather than a suicide. It is because of the title of the program that I believe that will take place this week. It was 3 minutes and 53, also known as 3:53, when John Dutton passed away. Our next stop will be at the location where the crime was committed. Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, is still keeping his cards close to his chest when it comes to the episode. In addition to the fact that key screenplays were censored on set in order to guarantee the highest possible level of safety, teasers for Season 5 are only providing viewers with a preview of fresh material. However, following a drought that lasted for almost 2 years without any Yellowstone teasers, we are willing to settle for anything that comes our way. Following the launch of Season 5, Part 2 on November 10th, Yellowstone viewers were given an extended look at what is to come in the form of a minute-long preview. On the other hand, the preview that was released following the 10th episode of Season 5 on Sunday, titled The Apocalypse of Change, was significantly shorter. In spite of this, viewers are able to glean some meaty takeaways prior to the 11th episode of Season 5, which pertain to shifting alliances, heightened emotions, and a potential 911 call. After Beth Kelly Rayleigh comes to the chilling realization that Jaime West Bentley and Sarah Dawn Oliveri were responsible for the death of her father Kevin Costner, we will have to wait until Sunday, November 24th to find out what the next steps will be for Kayce Luke Grimes and Beth Kelly Rayleigh. In the meantime, let's explore the most recent preview for Yellowstone that was released by the Paramount Network. In the beginning of the preview, there is a sight of the valued Dutton property, and a voiceover from Beth confesses that there is no preserving this place. A delay in its collapse is being caused by this. Early on in Season 5, Episode 10, we see Beth float an idea by Rip Kohlhauser that their lives could be rich and full of travel and new experiences if they weren't shackled to that ranch. Her comments suggest there could be a world in which Beth wipes her hands clean of and steps back from the weighty family responsibility, but Rip reminds her, "I chose to be shackled. I don't want to travel." The sense of duty to uphold the family legacy, especially after John's death, definitely still remains, and when the alternative is having the ranch fall to Jaime. It seems hard to believe that Beth and the Dutton Ranch fam will step back without a fight, even if they realize that preserving the property presents a whole slew of challenges. Although it appears that Jaime is only supported by Sarah and market equities, the preview for Episode 11 hints at a shift in the alliances that John Dutton's former co-workers Lennell Perry, played by Wendy Moniz, and Clara Brewer, played by Lily Kay, have with one another. Jaime also announces his intention to run for governor in a special election toward the end of Episode 10. Jaime is seen to be having a conversation with both of the women in the preview for the 11th episode of Season 5, emphasizing, "My siblings will never sell. Should we desire it, we are obligated to take it." In another picture, Jaime is shown standing next to Perry in front of a courtroom and cameras. Perry's voice can be heard warning Jaime, "Be careful what you undo, Jaime, and who you undo it for." While everything is going on, we also get a great shot of Sarah looking worried out, which is exactly how she should be. Despite the fact that she claims there is no connection between her and Jaime and John's passing, Jaime reveals to her in Episode 10 that Beth is aware of the situation. The most recent teaser trailer depicts Sarah and Jaime confronting each other in a kitchen, with Sarah asking Jaime, "What proof do they have?" As a result of the teaser for Season 5, Part 2, that was released the previous week. We are aware that this is the identical scenario in which Sarah appears to smash her phone with a hammer after Beth calls and asks, "Are you having fun yet?" With my fingers crossed, the scene plays out exactly like that, and it is not the result of editing that is misleadingly done. In addition to the fact that Beth will surely be seeking retribution in the remaining 4 episodes of Season 5, the preview for Episode 11 also shows her becoming emotional outside of the main home. which is further evidence that the path that lies ahead will not be an easy one. It would appear that she has a significant ally on her side, and that ally is her brother Kayce, who is played by Luke Grimes. In the 10th episode, Beth calls Kayce and tells him that Jaime couldn't even look her in the eyes and didn't even bother to deny that he killed their father. This causes Kayce to call and inquire about a hit of his own. Beth's call to Kayce is exactly what prompted Kayce to make the call. In the promo for the 11th episode of the 5th season, we see Kayce standing in front of what we can only guess is the body of his father and asking a medical professional, who is wearing a mask, if you were investigating a homicide, what would you be looking for? It would appear that Kayce does have a gut feeling that Beth is correct. Before he takes the next step, he is now looking for evidence that can be relied upon. During the final moments of the trailer for episode 11, we witness a law enforcement officer storming into a residence in the middle of the night and hear a dispatcher ask, 911, what is your emergency? Because the closing shot in the preview video shows Jaime breaking down and crying on the phone, we can only conclude that things will not go smoothly for him as well. Although it is currently unknown which future emergency the call will be about, it is evident that it will be about something that will occur in the future. After Kevin Costner's departure, Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 did not waste any time in addressing the situation. Now that John Dutton has passed away, his children are engaged in a full-scale conflict. One of the characters, Jaime, played by Wes Bentley, is hatching a plan to succeed his father as governor of Montana. On the other hand, Beth, played by Kelly Riley, and Kayce, played by Luke Grimes, are investigating the circumstances surrounding their father's death. Beth is convinced that Jaime was the one who carried out the murder. Taylor Sheridan still has a lot of unresolved issues to resolve. Despite the fact that there are only 4 episodes left, there is a strong indication that John will not be the only Dutton to pass away during this season. The fact that Yellowstone is broadcast on Paramount Network does not necessarily guarantee that it is available on Paramount. You are required to have Paramount Network in order to view Yellowstone. It is not going to be available on Paramount. When you want to access Paramount Network, you need to have a login for your TV provider. Yellowstone does not require viewers to pay for a cable subscription in order to watch it, despite the fact that Paramount Network is easily accessible through a selected cable package. Providers of live streaming television services such as Hulu Live TV, Fubo, Philo, and YouTube TV are among those that offer Paramount Network. The majority of these services have free trials, so if you want to watch the latest episode, sign up right away. In the event that you are a fan of Yellowstone, you are surely aware that the show streams older episodes on Peacock rather than Paramount. Nevertheless, Peacock does not provide the ability to watch fresh episodes the next day. The second portion of the 5th season of Peacock will at some point be released, but it won't be for a few months. Your best bet is to tune in to these brand new episodes that are broadcast on Paramount Network every Sunday night. The 11th episode of Yellowstone's 5th season is titled 353 according to the logline that is provided by the Paramount Network. For this episode, Beth discusses the fate of the ranch with an unlikely ally. At this point, Kayce decides to conduct the inquiry on his own. In an effort to forward his political goal, Jaime takes action. In the 10th episode of the 5th season of Yellowstone, Jaime finally came to terms with the fact that his girlfriend, Sarah Atwood, played by Dawn Oliveri, was the mind behind the murder of his father. Sarah was able to obtain assistance from Market Equities, a major real estate corporation that was interested in purchasing the ranch owned by the Dutton family. Even the possibility of Jaime running for governor of Montana in a special election was brought up by Market Equities. Without a doubt, it is no longer relevant whether Jaime wanted that to take place. Jaime is now responsible for dealing with the ramifications of John's death. The relationship between Beth and Kayce is one of those repercussions. The confrontation took place in Jaime's office, where she confronted him and claimed that she would kill him for the way he had treated their father. While Beth is plotting her vengeance, Kayce makes a phone call to an old friend in order to investigate potential organizations that could carry out John's murder. As of right now, the conclusion of Yellowstone Season 5 Part 2 will mark the conclusion of the iconic show. The 6th season of Yellowstone, on the other hand, is still a possibility. Contract discussions in Sheridan are the two factors that will determine the outcome. Both Riley and Kohlhauser are interested in returning. There is a possibility that Sheridan would be willing to produce additional episodes. In the event that this occurs, Yellowstone Season 6 will be given the go-ahead. Are we all in this fight? During the 9th episode of Yellowstone Season 5, John Dutton's warriors are getting ready for battle after he passed away. Could you possibly refer to them as anything other than soldiers? Cowboys such as Lloyd Pierce, Forey J. Smith, and Rip Wheeler, who devoted their entire working lives to serving JD and the Yellowstone Ranch, are examples of how they lived their lives. These individuals are soldiers, but rather are wearing bassinets. They are wearing cowboy hats. They have sworn allegiance to the banner of the Dutton family, and their lord has just been killed in combat. According to them, the murder of John Dutton represents the beginning of the end for change. Lloyd continues by saying, "Someone caught up to him and Rip does not disagree with him? Is it suicide? That's how it is." During the time when they are discussing the possibility of having to find new employment elsewhere, and the possibility of fighting for John Dutton's legacy, Beth Dutton is looking for direct answers from her sole suspect. Upon arriving at the state capitol building, she places herself behind the Attorney General's desk, ignites a heater, and then goes to confront Jaime Dutton when he arrives for work. Let's talk about conflict and war. On a typical day, Jaime has a glower face that still looks fresh. As a matter of fact, it is very comical to watch Beth in his office, because he has such a limited ability to avoid appearing guilty. I would like to give credit to Wes Bentley for imbuing this character with such a stoic, unlikability. Beth slaps him, and Jaime turns away. She strikes him once more, this time from the opposite side, but he continues to remain silent. And just so you know, Jaime's assistant is able to see everything that is going on here. How come you are unable to look at me, Jaime? Mostly due to the fact that he was involved in a plot to kill their father and is currently making preparations to run for governor in a special election. If you were unsure about whether or not Taylor Sheridan was the author of this episode of Yellowstone, you should listen to what Beth has to say next. Your rotten fucking eyes will never see anything else on this planet. I will be the last thing they ever see. Also, I shall be wearing a smile. Who else is smiling directly in front of Beth Dutton's eyes, if you could tell? The author, Sarah Atwood. Beth drags Sarah by the neck into the wall during a delightful dispute that takes place immediately outside of Jaime's office. Both women underline how much pleasure it will be to ruin the other. This is all so obvious that it is comparable to dragging the body of the deceased governor straight into the rotunda of the state building. However, Ellis Steele, played by John Emmett Tracy, seems unfazed by the bad blood situation. As a result of the business guy Drone's commitment to market equity's support for Jaime's quest for governor, the idea for Maine to transform Yellowstone Ranch acreage into airport runways has been revitalized and is once again on the agenda of the state. Following the conclusion of the business section of their meeting, Atwood transitions into the Jaime Dutton sex dominator mode. After unzipping and removing her clothing, she places her privates on his desk, precisely in the spot where Beth had stubbed out her cigarette just a few minutes before. You have triumphed, Jaime. Kings do not wallow in their misery. They gobble up the spoils of their victory and feast on them. Other repercussions are caused by the death of John Dutton. Like Summer Higgins, played by Piper Perbo, who is still living on the ranch in a liminal position between house arrest and friend with benefits. There is no reprise of their wild cowboy fight from earlier in the season, which should have won them an Emmy. In spite of this, Beth does have a few last-minute insults for her hippie adversary, Summer, as she is being kicked from the property. Also, do you recall Carter, played by Finn Little, the difficult child that the Duttons eventually took in? When Rip gives him a brief lecture about cowboying up in the face of hardship, he is crying outside of the bunkhouse where they are staying. Yellowstone has only a couple episodes left to air right now. However, regardless of whether or not it is seen on camera, Carter, in his capacity as a tenderfoot in the John Dutton army, appears to be destined to be branded with the hooked rocking Y of Yellowstone. In addition, Kayce and Tate go for a stroll outside of the mansion that they are renovating, which is located in a secluded area of Yellowstone grassland. Do you believe that Tate's future as an heir to the ranch is now assured by the fact that he is in charge of it? Even if the fact that he was in charge of the ranch was the precise reason why his grandfather was killed, in the event that Tate makes the decision that this is what he truly desires, Kayce has stated that he will allow his kid to carry on John's legacy. His goal was to become another Dutton soldier and to join the ranch as a permanent resident. While all is going on, they will be mourning the man. However, Kayce is also anticipating it when Beth calls to emphasize that Jaime never denied anything about the murder, and that Atwood more or less gloated about her involvement in the crime. Immediately after everything that took place, Kayce emphasized that Jaime would have needed assistance throughout this time. Additionally, in order to accomplish this, he calls an old friend from the Navy SEALs named Cade McPherson, who is played by Jake McLaughlin. In the realm of corporate wet work, Cade explains that putting a hit on a sitting governor would be a job worth $10 or $15 million, and it would be so high profile that the individuals who would carry it out are on a short list. We are already aware that the company that Sarah Atwood hired to kill John Dutton protected itself by gathering information on the immoral sexual encounter that took place between Sarah and Jaime. As a result of Beth's open declaration of her goals and Kayce's efforts to discover the extent of murder for hire that they are up against, it appears that Lloyd and everyone else who is aiming for one will have their desires sooner rather than later. It is undeniable that John Dutton's trusted inner circle is participating in this conflict. In light of the fact that there is a great deal of disturbance developing in the present, what about Yellowstone Season 5 in the past, when John Dutton was still alive? When the cowboy group is down on the 6,666, they realize that they are camped directly above a prairie dog settlement that is inhabited by rattlesnakes. This realization occurs during the flashback segment of episode 10. On the other hand, it also features Beth driving along the highway from Montana to Texas and learning about the kind of respect that the people who live in cow country have for the 6,666. In schools, students learn about the history of the ranch. A branded distillery is run by the company, and the sole brand of vodka that is offered in the neighboring city of Amarillo is 6,666. Additionally, a state policeman encourages Beth to express gratitude to her husband for preserving cowboying as a profession. Beth is taken aback by the level of influence and wealth that is present in her area. "We know what it takes to put a steak on a plate around here," she says. Rip is informed by her that they are ranching in the incorrect state. That being said, let's talk about the possibility of spending your entire life on the ranch. Before embarking on this expedition to Texas with the other cowboys, Rip Wheeler had never traveled outside of the state of Montana. Rip simply restates the fact that he decided to be shackled when Beth adds that they are bound to Yellowstone, both as individuals and as a married couple's relationship. "I ain't interested in traveling." After spending a weekend away from Montana and Yellowstone, as well as her father, Beth is beginning to think about the future of her and Rip in a different perspective. In light of the fact that we are already aware of their future and the fact that it will involve open conflict, the inquisitive tone of these flashbacks brings a fresh dimension to the conflict that is developing. There will be no discussion about leaving the ranch. As soon as it is activated, it will begin to defend everything that it stands for, all the way down to the soul of the individual that they all hold dear. Now that he has been given a purpose, Kayce Dutton, who is one of the characters in the popular neo-Western series Yellowstone, who has the most ethically contradictory character, has finally been given a purpose. In addition to being one of the children of John Dutton, who passed away, Kayce Dutton is a former Navy SEAL who later became a livestock agent and eventually became the commissioner of the Yellowstone Ranch. He is responsible for a wide range of obligations, including the care of his family and the property they own. Kayce's relationship with his father has always been tense because John disapproved of Kayce's marriage to Monica and the fact that he had a child with her. This has caused Kayce to have a difficult time interacting with his father. Kayce has been overshadowed by the Dutton family war, and to some degree by the large shadow cast by his father, the emotional core of his sister Beth, and her relationship with ranch foreman Rip Wheeler, and the political rise of Montana's Attorney General Jaime Dutton. Despite the fact that Kayce is one of the primary characters in the show, he has been overshadowed by these factors. Nevertheless, in the 10th episode of Yellowstone Season 5, titled The Apocalypse of Change, Kayce is presented with the opportunity to accomplish his mission by pursuing justice for his family and coming face to face with the person who murdered his father. Throughout the entirety of the series, John has been the protagonist, taking charge in Yellowstone and guiding his family through challenging times and a variety of adversaries. Kayce, on the other hand, is faced with significant choices concerning his future now that the patriarch has been removed from the equation. One of these choices is whether or not he will be able to continue to exercise authority over the Dutton Ranch while simultaneously caring for Monica and their son Tate. In addition to this, Kayce must be concerned about the developing tension that exists between his siblings Beth and Jaime. In addition, Kayce has been somewhat absent from the spotlight due to the fact that his personal tale is distinct from the conflicts that are taking place on the ranch. Now that Kayce is fully immersed in the fight between Team Beth and Team Jaime in Yellowstone Season 5, Kayce is compelled to make a decision regarding whose side he will be on and how he would go about ending this dispute. In episode 10, Beth made a phone call to Kayce in which she expressed her concerns about Jaime and his girlfriend Sarah. As a result of this, Beth and Kayce's friendship finally begins to develop closer. This is because they are determined to discover how Jaime and Sarah came up with the plot to kill John. Although John and Kayce had a number of arguments over the years, including those over Kayce's marriage to Monica and John's desire for Kayce to take on a more prominent leadership role at the Yellowstone Ranch. They continue to love and respect each other because of their shared passion for ranching, and they express sorrow for the disagreements that they had. Kayce is in a difficult emotional position as a result of John's passing, because they are no longer able to reconnect with one another as much as they originally did. Kayce, on the other hand, has the chance to maintain the ranch and defend it against adversaries like as Jaime and Sarah, thereby preserving the heritage of his father as well as the Dutton family tree and name in Yellowstone. Aside from John, Beth has been one of the most influential characters in the series when it comes to expressing her feelings, her love for her father and Rip, and her willingness to fight her family's adversaries in order to protect the ranch. At the same time as Beth is continuing her quest for vengeance for John's death, Kayce will also put his money where his mouth is and assist his sister in confronting Jaime. Due to the fact that he has been out of the loop for years regarding his father's business within the ranch and Jaime and Sarah's own Yellowstone plans for dismantling it, Kayce is particularly dangerous in Yellowstone. This is because their adversaries will not anticipate him coming. Due to this, Kayce is a very dangerous individual in Yellowstone. Kayce will also be more dangerous than Beth, because he is an experienced former Navy SEAL, which has been mentioned briefly in the past. This means that he possesses the skill set and resources necessary to battle and take down Jaime, Sarah, and any other agents implicated in John's death. Beth, on the other hand, is not as experienced as Kayce. The Yellowstone conspiracy theory is so loud that it is impossible to ignore it. John Dutton is still alive, and his death is only a trap created for his most ferocious adversary. This interpretation of the launch of Season 5 Part 2 on November 10th is by no means the only one that is out of the ordinary. This parallel universe was expanded upon in the episode that aired on Sunday, November 17th. During our weekly Yellowstone preview talk that will take place later this week, The following is a glimpse of the topics that we will discuss. To be completely forthright, I will confess that I do not believe John Dutton is still alive. Kevin Costner has stated that he did not show up to film any additional scenes for the episodes that would conclude the series, and I am going to take his word for it. When asked about his role, the actor did not play coy or cheeky. Rather, he stated unequivocally that he is no longer engaged with the project. Certainly, we would all forgive him for that untruth. Nevertheless, it would still be a lie anyway. Members of the audience have expressed their belief that John Dutton is still alive in the comments section of our Yellowstone breakdown videos on YouTube, as well as on social media platforms. It was a little but significant element of the discussion that took place during the Dutton Rules podcast that was released this week. I have one comment to make. In the event that vivid and insensitive accounts of death by suicide are stressful for you, you should take care of yourself. John Dutton is not dead. Convenient that he blew his brains out, supposedly can't truly identify the victim. It's brilliant. Can't wait to see how this plays out. John Dutton was in the know, and maybe Beth too, since she was Googling who that person was and nothing else came about from it. They staged it. The phrase Googling is a reference to a plot arc that occurs in the first part of Season 5 and involves Beth learning that Sarah Atwood is not her real name. Since then, that has almost completely disappeared, turning into one of those annoying loose ends, similar to the Lug Nut Boy from the third season's conclusion. If for no other reason than the fact that it acknowledges the several malevolent powers that are conspiring to eliminate the Dutton family, a staged death is an intriguing story device. This would provide Beth, Rip Kayce, and others the opportunity to hunt down and eliminate the adversaries of the family. The difficulty is that none of those three individuals appear to be on board with this strategy. The other issue is that if Dutton did stage his own death, he did so in conjunction with law enforcement. This leads to another concern. A string of murders that can be traced back to Beth, Rip, or Kayce would not be able to avoid the scrutiny of the authorities. On the other hand, this individual on Reddit makes a compelling argument. Okay, there's one slight chance that this is the biggest fake play ever pulled off. I mean, in the bin of tricks of police and law enforcement, there was a conspiracy to kill you, so we're going to tell everybody that you died in order to trap the would-be killers. Before completely disregarding this theory, there is one more question that should be taken into consideration. The question arises as to why Kevin Costner's name is the first to appear in the opening credits of the show if John Dutton has passed away and Kevin Costner is not going to make an appearance in Season 5. In order to emphasize this idea, the Yellowstone breakdown for this week comes right at the very end. Yellowstone will premiere its 11th episode of the 5th season on the Paramount Network on November 24th.